it's been 10 weeks of the stream and 8 weeks of the PhD. So 2 months in. We're 2 months in and we've gone through a lot. You always left feeling like you wish you could do more, but all I can say is just focus on having a good time and enjoying yourself and enjoying the time that you have. Let it all work out. Nonetheless, let's talk about week 10. Yeah, I'm going to try to keep this under an hour today, guys, if I can. So the week 10 recap, this is an interesting one. Basically, we got welcomed into the student council through a strange email. We got added to without going into too much detail, but basically I found out inadvertently. And it's a very large group, it's a very large council, so I don't actually know how special this is really going to be, but anything that I can do to help my university and help my fellow students here, that's what I'm here to do. So I'm happy to try to do that. We got the Friday Digra meeting, which is today. That's going to be in a few hours from now. So I'll wrap this up and then we'll bounce. And then finally, there is a third update, which is a new potential supervisor. Right, so we had to recap the issue was we're going to work with the Dean of Graduate Studies. We got a reference from another Dean of Graduate Studies, and we're meant to get the 2 scholarships. That and Lady Gaz was supposed to be a participant in the PhD so she can get her PhD supervisors training and stuff out of the way under the guidance of like really great people, because we are really great people. None of this kind of transpired. I did get into the program though, so I've got to get a new supervisory panel, and we're like figuring all of this stuff out as we go. Teething pains with this project. Right, so we found a potential supervisor. That person is, just to keep it simple, we'll just call it all staff professors. This professor is she's fantastic and a lot of American experience, and excellent with literature, narrative, and arts. And if I understand correctly, they're like the boss of the arts program at this university, right? Which is quite a good supervisor to have, in my opinion. Now we got somebody else who is expressed interest in the project, and what's great about this person is they apparently know about streaming and this phenomena and everything that's involved, and apparently they're also a Swiftologist, so very contemporary. Is impressed and inspired by Helocracy, just doing this talk, impressed and inspired by the potential new supervisor and the person who's in charge of arts. They're all winners, so that's really great. We only just found out last night that they were interested, so we will send them a copy of the proposal. So that's kind of like next steps, right? So this confirmation of candidature document that I'm working on, which is the 7,000 worder, was 10, minimum of 7. We're aiming for the minimum because why write any more than you have to? Time is of the essence and so on. So they will also get a copy. We'll get all the feedback, and then the subsequent step will be to submit the confirmation of candidature draft and hopefully some letters of support by the supervisors, as well as my esports certificates and the EpiGM research training certificates. And hopefully the scholarships council will be more generous than what they were on the first time around, and I'll get the scholarship. But if not, that's okay. I don't mind not getting it. The only thing I mind is not giving it a go, right? And so for my American viewers who watch this on YouTube, go out and try. Let's talk about gaming. So we played and completed Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for the second time, but we got to play it with some friends of the stream on Xbox Cloud. Xbox Cloud gaming is amazing when it works really great. We did this game called Kona 2 Broom, which is a Canadian indie game with some like all these different themes, as well as some homage to First Nations people and sort of Canadian considerations. In general, it was like a mystery game, a little spoopy, a little spooky, some fun parts and stuff, interesting game design and everything. I'm glad I played it. I can recommend it. And the third thing, rather than Helldivers, because I think at the moment we're like level 90 in Helldivers, is I don't actually know what the third thing will be this week for gaming in terms of accomplishment or something like that. We did start this game called Remnant 2 when we're playing with viewers, cloud streaming those games, and that was awesome. What about the stream? So we moved the lab season 3, the stream, back into the living room where we produce season 2, right? So long-time viewers of the Rival Gaz stream are going to recognize a lot of furniture and assets and stuff that we got for the purposes of producing a relatable stream and all this kind of stuff, right? So we moved, and why did we move outside of the PhD room? Because before we had a PhD room where we could do everything and so on. That's when I was doing the green screen, right? The reason why we moved is because after about 250 hours of streaming in there, I felt like I wasn't maximizing the space, and like Lady Gaz could use that space better than me, if that makes sense. So I was like, yeah, they can take it. Another thing was I don't know if it affects anybody else, but different size spaces and different rooms and stuff like change how you think. And I like this space out here. I was able to produce a stream out here and stuff, so I'm happy to be back out here in a slightly larger space. I miss the couch and I miss the TV, so like I'm excited to start gaming with that and the hammock and all this stuff again, but it's something that it's going to take me time to get into the habit of. If you follow me and how I play, it's like as much as I can just go and play on any device or any console or any TV or any keyboard, mouse or controller or whatever, as much as I can do that, my preference is to get comfortable and sort of habituated, or like let's just say habituated into playing in a designated spot in a certain type of way, and I can really go for it then. And I don't know what it is, but that just takes time to set up and get used to, and it takes time to pack down and move again, right? Okay. SteelSeries headset. Let's talk about this bad boy here. So this is the SteelSeries headset. This is what it is, what we got. What do we like about it? What's great about it? Let's just keep it really, really brief. It exceeded expectations in a lot of ways, but the onboarding, as in the use of the product and things like this, was not as good as what it could have been, but that's all my own fault, right? So we introduced new audio equipment into a production live stream environment, and it cooked a whole bunch of stuff. And it required me to, and this is how I know I'm getting better as a streamer, because I could pull the stream down, I could redo all the audio again. See you, Kratz. Have a great morning, man. I appreciate you popping by and saying g'day. I could redo all the audio from scratch and then get back on stream on the same day. The only reason why it took me as long as I did was because I was doing extra tinkering, trying to get it extra better, doing upgrades to audio routing and things like this, which was, again, many streamers, what they do is they get comfortable with their streaming setup, and then they can do it, and then they stop innovating, they stop learning. And unless you got a team or someone who's doing all this stuff for you, you got to keep up to date and keep finding ways to make your content more novel and more organic for your regular viewers. So again, like a lot of streamers will just get comfy, get regulars, and just stay stagnant without realizing that actually your viewers might want to see more sides of you, or more different things on the stream, you know. So for me, that means different stickers. For me, that means different angles. For me, that means different outfits. For me, that means different games, and so on. But anyway, for the SteelSeries headset, I just cooked all the audio. I got it all fixed. 3 good things about the headset: pass-through charging, so you can still use the device while it's being charged. Fantastic range, considering the dongle receiver that you get with it. And low-end bass is just superb. 3 kind of letdowns. The product itself, it's premium and light, but not luxurious. Head clamp could be better. And no comment on battery or anything like that, because you get the bass, whereas other cans don't. The only thing I would probably want to, the software, right? The software, because I haven't explored it enough, but that was what ended up cooking a lot of the other things. So I've got to just make sure I get in there and have a look around. The one thing I want to double check are all the sound profiles, right? So let's talk about this sound profiles. Here is this video where the top of the line headset from SteelSeries has a controller. I'll just play it again. That changes the frequency response, so that changes the sound to give you a tactical or a real advantage in the games that you're playing. Now, is that cheating or not? I'm not sure, but this has inspired a whole line of thinking from me, right? Now let's move forward, and we'll touch on these kind of concepts, theories, and ideas later. Our new imperatives. As you can see, we're not really progressing on that, but things are happening in the background. Make lectures to listen to playlist. This is something that, again, that I'm a big believer in, and something that I have not been doing. Not disappointed in myself, because I'm still going great, but something that I'm aware that I'm going to need, that every PhD student or any student should try to advantage themselves to, which is listening to really good talks when they have the availability to. What I've just been doing is playing the games, doing my stream, and listening to fantastic music on great equipment. Face emotes for Scuff, that's still happening. First draft of the character sheets. Right, we've got first drafts of the character sheets done, they're just not input ready yet, right? So that's really good. Some of these stuff here, like with the fighting games and stuff, we're getting there. Okay, so let's talk about Season 3. So this slide says Season 3 outputs to know the story. So let me just drop that down there. Basically, how are we going to know the story of Season 3? Rival Gaz and his lab, yeah, because don't forget, my real name is Gary Lee, right? I adopt the persona of Rival Gaz, the moniker of Rival Gaz, and I play and act the character of Rival Gaz. He's the streamer from the future, the best friend you never had, right? And that's the character that I play. He's a streamer who's trying to be the best, who just happens to be doing a PhD on what it means to be the best that no one ever was. And he has his own lore and all of these sort of fantasy, fictitious moments and things like this. So how do we come to know more about Rival Gaz and his experience in the lab? Yeah, where we have these different states of the suspension of disbelief just for novelty and enjoyment of playing as adults in this 21st century. Well, we're going to have all our YouTube stream highlights and edited content, as well as what actually happened to me, Real Gaz, in real life, and how that kind of just portrays and comes across in the stream. And finally, the RPG campaign is going to be the lab, and that's going to be our exploration of high fantasy. Yeah, and we've got all of this year to pursue that. Again, that RPG is an RPG that we play on stream with viewers asynchronously. It's a unique kind of gameplay. Okay, post kick. because we are here for 2,000 hours. We've got 3 months full time. What are we going to do? I wasn't able to. So I had some intentions when I came to Kick. The primary one was just to stream, get back in streaming, and to try help an Australian streaming company. That's what I thought that I could do, but it turns out that like they're not really an Australian streaming company. They're more of like an American global company that's just situated here for whatever reasons, and you know, not that many Aussies, just Americans, and that's okay. Well, the cybersecurity guy's Aussie, but like he didn't reply to me on LinkedIn. He doesn't really seem like he's much of a. He seems limited. I'm not talking about his capability. I just mean like usually cybersecurity professionals in Australia, I can have a conversation with him but I wasn't able to. You know, Alistair McGibbon type cyber CX, so on, whatever. Doesn't matter though. Who cares about rival gas, real gas? In that respect, my intention was to be able to try help Kick however I could, and well, that didn't really happen. So we just did the stream. It wasn't to get famous, wasn't to get rich. Even though I was aware that those things could happen, I just learned a lot about this platform and everything by spending the time here and being situated here and seeing all the Discord, everything. Discord, sorry. Yes, because that's all it really was Discord, but all the discussions and all the discourse in general. Okay, so post-Kick then. Once we do our 2,000 hours and we're going to dip because there's nothing here for us to contribute to, nothing for us here to build, nobody to help, no cause, no purpose. I'm interested in vertical video, so that means TikTok, that means YouTube. Probably just going to keep going with the same motif. But in order to get TikTok, we're going to need to build a follower base there, which means TikTok original content. The only TikTok content that I've been producing is all ancient and old, and it was all universal content that was designed to go on all platforms. But obviously that's not the best strategy, but it is still a viable strategy, just not the best strategy. I have produced TikTok original content before that's been highly successful. I won't talk about it much though, at least for the standards for what we were trying to do. Okay, then we spoke about what is eliteness. This is something that is like a, this ontological, epistemological, how we know, why we know challenge. And I might have spoken about this last week, but the main point is coming from Charles Darwin University, trying to channel my inner Charles Darwin, thinking about evolution and how video games evolve, different patches, different systems, different graphics, different inputs, different platforms, different concepts, paradigms, ways of play, everything. Different everything. Video games evolve, and there's going to be a gamer or a player at that point in time who is either numero uno, or better yet, like on a species level, there's going to be a band of players that are above average. That's kind of what we're looking at. But again, I'm all about, let's just call it democratizing elite gameplay and enabling this recognition of gamers and play that is outside of pure esports and organized competition. Yeah? So imagine a society where only the physical elite were able to carry the mantle for societal rewards. It kind of sounds like ancient Sparta or whatever. But in this world of gaming, it tends to be the case where there's so many, in my view, hidden figures and unsung heroes, like people on top of leaderboards who are never going to get recognition other than the fact that they're on top of the leaderboard, or people who write guides or share information, or the random person with a couple thousand hours who goes into a Twitch stream and says, "Oh, it's in there," and you're like, "Wow, you just changed my gameplay forever. Thank you so much." It's just like I just want it to be so that way people so for all my trophy hunters, all my speedrunners, everyone who just likes to play every game under the sun, my completionists, my just straight pogs, my people who like playing games differently, like with DDR dance pads and flutes and all sorts of stuff, or with their minds and stuff. Just recognizing what you're doing as being, whether or not it's elite or not, that's kind of a separate thing. But just helping to legitimize and to professionalize, and inspire new gamers, right? Because I feel like the entirety of the activity in the human-computer interaction can have a lot of transferable skills into other facets of life, as well as give us indications for how we are going to be as people moving forward, right, in this sort of techno-augmented world. Also, we might be doing something with Uber Fluffy either later today or maybe tomorrow or on the weekend, where he's going to ask me questions, these sort of cybernetics style questions. Anyway, the RPG campaign, moving on. We've got the character sheet made. It's in a draft. It's somewhere else, but that's for another stream. Okay, what about just some general thinking and things? Thinking, but it does say thinking. You're just going to have to take my word for it. Right, I'll just drop myself down here. What I'm working on, and all these tabs up here, is this elite gaming and esports timeline. Just trying to track down the chronology and the history of it all, going back to, we've just invented computers. Let's see who's doing what and where. Obviously, this is an entire PhD in and of itself. I'm doing cursory reading to help me get a few facts under my belt to help contextualize my confirmation of candidature research proposal, right? That's what we're doing. On games and genres, obviously there are more games and more genres than this. This is just a scratch pad where we're looking at what we might include. So far, feedback has been try to keep it to 4 games, right? Even though I'm interested in 5 or 6, but maybe just 4. But again, this comes back to the PhD, how it's written. So not the stream and not my research and not all my activities on stream. We can do every game. We can do every genre. But what's actually going to make it to the final cut for the artifacts that we produce for what ideally for me will be a stream exhibition, which ideally for me will be curated YouTube content that's edited, and it need not be the best. It just need to be watchable. What it is that we're finally going to do on all this stuff is still up for discussion. Sorry about the lag there. Okay, so the PhD, this is all obvious, Our SOC is the 5-factor model and how we test it, 40 to 60,000 words. Again, the 5-factor model being about the games we play, about the description, so the communicative aspect, status, and all this kind of stuff. That's you know what I'm talking about, the influencer aspect, the competition, so how it is that we're fitting in with everybody else and how everyone else is kind of playing, the achievement itself, and then finally the acquisition, how it is that you got good and stay good. This is an expanded model, but we don't need to go into it too much. We talked about the nature of being observers and everything, and this is something as well that's going to be important as a tangential to this, but similar in concept, which is the role of supervisors and their interaction on stream and so on, right? Because you wouldn't want supervisors to kill the vibe. You wouldn't want supervisors to be anything other than supportive, right? And you wouldn't want them to be exposed to things that they ordinarily wouldn't be exposed to, right? Simply because they're participating in this project. So like that's harassment, that's getting cancelled, that's seeing things just by virtue of being on the internet, that ordinarily if they weren't involved in the project, that would be fine and they would avoid that psychological distress. Okay, types of play. Moving on to the lit review. This is really important. This is something that like sort of the big boss supervisor who's going to be in charge of arts is going to be interested in. So I've got a few different lit review directions to explore. The idea is to, if it was like a map or a mall or a Westfield, I'm going to go everywhere and look at everything. I'm going to find out where it all is, and then I'm going to go back to the food court, have something to eat, and then go and buy everything, and then go home for the day. So some of the directions that I'm going this is going to be a real challenging one for me, but it's explaining the obvious and deciding what it is to say, right? So there's so many things that are completely obvious to me as the speed runner who's first to sixth, Hades 40 heat or weapons and so on. And still Hades back-to-back wins in 2.5 hours real-time attack for my Hermes Cup attempt. Yes, so still the fastest on PlayStation 5 in the world at this time of recording, unless something happened. But I don't check my stats every day or whatever because I don't have a challenger who has beaten me on video, unseeded, unmodded. So I've got to get a list of everything that's obvious to me and with help of my supervisors, find what story that we're really going to tell. Okay, so there's a methods and theories reading list, right, that I need to make clearer and make nested. So all of these things are just like points where I'm going to look at. The most important one for like Tara, even though she's no longer involved, would be who are the top 10 authors in your field and what are they talking about, right? Followed by the artifacts and exegesis understanding. For me, and maybe my other supervisors might be interested in not so much what methods and things that I will be using per se, right? But maybe they'd be more interested in like this slide and this slide are very similar. One's just about the methodology and one is just about the literature in general, what's actually out there in the field of games studies in general, right? Game studies, culture studies, and so on. The 5-factor model literature, this is something that, again, that's also very important because I base the 5-factor model on my lived experience and the knowledge that I've accumulated over time, and that's what I posited. Every factor is effectively like a question that I'll be asking and interrogating and trying to find proof in the literature and proof through my methods, social science methods of like interviews and surveys and whatever data we can garner from recorded footage that is veritable, right, to help me prove this. We spoke about the hypothesis. This has been a while since we've done this, but the differences between play, so people who can really play the game and have fun and they're just playing, versus people with this super high skill but aren't playing anymore, if that makes sense. But then we expanded this and we changed this and we mirrored it, basically to acknowledge that there's both lots of play and both lots of professional skill and ability that gets you cash cups and all this stuff and influencer points is all like both require skill, but people will have various levels of play and various levels of professional ability in play. And I suggest in the middle that there's this learning curve, and but learning is not enjoyment, right? But basically with zero learning, if you don't learn and you don't acquire the skill, then you're never going to be able to play and you're never going to be able to win the money or whatever. So there's both. And what I posit is that we could get an index or a score or evaluate players to help understand where they're at for play and where they're at for pro work, because both I feel are important for well-being and overall performance. Then I had the concept on trainers, like basically to posit the question, take a gamer who's never played Fortnite before. If they were to do a Fortnite aim trainer before playing, would they be a better player or would they just be a better player if they just played the game? Not sure. It was just a thought that I had. All right, now we've got all these different notes. But this is where we've spent a lot of time, right, thinking about these things behind the scenes as we've been gaming. So some of these other ideas, I'll just put myself in the top right hand corner. Ages ago we watched that video on Andrew Huberman where he kind of spoke about how Gen Z and Gen Alpha have a lot of thumb-based technology use things, and what does that mean for their brains? You know, is that generation going to be better gamers or more capable gamers than our generation? Not sure. I had thoughts on the demography and averages. So, like, what is the average gamer? What is the average elite player? Right, we don't know that yet. I'm confident that video game developers know who their lead users are and who their exemplaries are. Then, based on the SteelSeries headset, you know, all this thought about audio advantages, like talks about quality issues for brands like Razer on forums, suggesting that like maybe some headphones aren't calibrated that great, or basically, you know, I'll just say it, I feel like maybe pro gamers need to have dedicated kit that works a certain type of way, guaranteed, that's been like dialed in. Then again, the SWOT analysis of headphones versus other types of audio, and then the whole audio profiles per game and what the advantage is there. And that kind of goes in with hardware advantages, which is the final point, where you have monitors that overlay things, that change the contrast and visibility of things. So if the game tries to make it so you can't see, this monitor will make it so you can see. And then if the game makes it so you can't hear, but your headphones make it so you can hear. And then if your mouse makes it so that you can do something that you otherwise couldn't be able to do, you see where I'm getting at, right? What I'm getting at is that certain people are going to have more advantages over others. And this leads me to this little diagram in the corner that I made, which is like, what's really the driving of player advantage and the sort of ethics and morality behind it, as well as the it's like the chicken and the egg question, you know? So what I'm getting at is like, game designers make a game, yeah? There are going to be certain advantages the player exploits. Or is it hardware designers make the hardware and the platforms and stuff, which tell the game designers what they can and can't do, which the player exploits? Or is it what the player's activity is that informs the game designers and the hardware designers? Or is it a simultaneous thing where all three of them are all like getting in there, and then there's this quasi-state? If so, you know, there's so much to tease out there, and I'm excited by that prospect. And the rest of all of this stuff here is just quite literally notes. What I will do now is just pull up my Notion and see if there's anything that we saved in there. And otherwise, guys, we're just about ready to knock off. I got Monday was the first day of moving the stream. Tuesday was what's the obvious thing to me. And we found out on Thursday, new supervisor potential. This is in comparison to the prior week where there was this PhD at Greenwich about how video games make you feel and the emotionality of video games. And this emotionality, for me, is actually an interesting quadrant to explore in terms of how that impacts your play and your ability to play. So, like when I play Hades, right, I do all this stuff to make sure that I'm in the zone and that I can play. Whether or not if you look at how the game was originally designed with its music and everything else, it might not ever be really feasible or possible for someone to attain the things the way that I have had done, because you'd simply just be sick of listening to the same stuff over and over if it was a soundtrack, for example. Not that you could ever get sick of the Hades soundtrack, right? Is it Darren Korb? Legend. All right, guys, so this is going to be my goal. I'm going to try to go through all these articles over the weekend. I'm going to try to write up this research proposal for the confirmation of candidature, get that locked in over the weekend, so that way everyone's got something by Monday to read and provide feedback for. Oh, and I guess there is this. that we could speak about, but we can save it for another day. I'll just move myself over here. This is the sort of project timetable. So the idea that I have is like, well, I'm just putting in all the major activities and things that I think are going to happen and how long they're going to happen and where I think they're going to happen and so on. There's a lot of stuff to still be advised, but yeah, I've kind of tried my best to think it through to the end and make it clearer to people, my confirmation, what I'm going to be doing when. And I think that's pretty much it, guys.